Welcome to another episode of Course You Can with Deputy Mitch. Yo, welcome to the first episode of Course You Can with Deputy Mitch. Today we're going to be checking fluids in a vehicle and learning how to jumpstart a vehicle. So let's head over to the bus garage. We're going to meet with Mr. Carbone. We're over here at the bus garage with Mr. Carbone. First, we're going to talk about different fluids we should change inside the vehicle. So we'll get started. He's going to explain some things to you.
One of the most important ones is probably the oil, the actual engine oil itself. Most typically on any vehicle, the oil will be this nice yellow dipstick. It'll be sticking pretty much in the front. A lot of times, sometimes they can hide them down in here, but I'd say 9 times out of 10, it's the yellow one. That's the oil dipstick. So what you do is, with the engine off, you pull the dipstick out, wipe it down, get the oil off of it, stick it back in, and you will look for this level here. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's kind of hard to see, but you'll look for the oil right about there. Now they'll have hash marks on all the dipsticks. Some will say low, some will say low at the bottom, high at the top. Others won't say anything like this. You just want to make sure oil is kind of right there in the middle, and you'll be good.
So with these, do you make sure you shove the dipstick all the way in, right?
Yes.
Before you pull it back out?
It's got to be all the way in before you pull it back out, so you can get a true level.
And what will happen if it's running when you have it started, or when you're checking?
If you have it running when you check the oil, it'll show that it's high. It'll show higher than what it actually could be, because all the engine parts are running and all this stuff. And it'll just sling it all over the place. So.
Okay, awesome. What we got next?
Next, we can do the transmission. Transmission on this one is black. Sometimes they will do a red dipstick, so that way you know that it is the transmission. Transmission fluid is typically red, just so you can tell if it's leaking or anything like that. On this one, we'll see if it says it. I know you won't be able to see it on camera, but it will tell you on the dipstick how to check. This one, it says check and park, engine idling, vehicle level. Then it tells you actually the kind of transmission fluid also to use. So we have it on level ground. It is not running. So we will start her up and we'll come back out here and check the level. Again, you'll want to wipe it off first. Now you can see there's a little bit right there. It's fluid all the way up to there. And that actually, on transmissions, on the dipstick, not only will it tell you typically how to check it, but it'll also give you a cold and a hot mark. Obviously this is cold. It hasn't really driven anywhere besides from the parking lot here. So it was right in the middle of the cold mark, so it's good. You can check it hot also, depending on what time you're checking it. Okay. So either way will work.
So with transmission and with the oil, if it's low, where do you put the fluids in?
Let me shut it down. For the oil, there's always an oil cap somewhere. I had, when I was working in the shop before, I had a customer come in and ask me for a really small funnel. And I'm like, why do you need a really small funnel? This is the smallest we got. And she said, well, I can't get it to put the oil in. And I walked out and she was actually trying to put it in the dipstick. Don't do that. I guess it would work, but so you'll take your oil cap off and you just put your engine oil in there. And typically the oil caps will tell you what kind of weight oil to put in. This is 5W30. Go to any parts store. You can get 530 anywhere. I think even the gas station has some.
And it's better to fill up just a little bit and check it a couple times
Yes.
than to fill up too much.
Yes. Put it in. I'd probably recommend maybe a half quart at a time while you're checking it. Now the transmission, we will go into the dipstick to fill it. But as you see, the hole is much larger on that one. So it makes it a little bit easier. So you just dump it in right there. Now I will tell you on some of the newer vehicles, the transmissions are what's called maintenance free. So they seal them. So just your average Joe Schmo can't do anything to them. On those you won't find the dipstick. You won't even find the transmission tube. They'll just kind of be completely sealed. So if you want to check your fluids and you don't see that, maybe ask or call the dealership. They should be able to walk you through it or tell you if it's sealed or not.
Okay, awesome. Next, we got windshield washer.
Windshield washer. There's always typically a cap somewhere. It'll have like a little windshield with a little sprayer squirt on it. That's where you'll put your washer fluid in. There's no way to really check it. You see it. If you can see the level, you're good.
Yep, you can't overfill that, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
They say you can overfill it, but it's just gonna fall out if you do. So it's
Yeah.
it's no big deal.
Yep.
This one right next to it, this is the brake fluid. It's really important to check on that one. Little trade secret that not many people know. If it is low, you really shouldn't fill it. If it's low for a reason. There's either a leak or your brake pads are wore out. As a mechanic, we always dislike when someone comes in for brakes. We compress the calipers and now we got brake fluid spraying everywhere because, well, my brake light was on, so I put more fluid in it. Well, it was on because your pads were low.
Yep.
So, but this will have a nice mark on it. There's a max level up here, and then there should be a min level right down here. So the min level will be right there. A lot of times these containers, you'll want a little flashlight so you can kind of shine on the opposite side so you can actually see where the fluid level is. It makes it a lot easier.
Right. Any other important fluids here to check?
Depending on age of the vehicle, power steering fluid. This one does have an actual fluid-driven power steering. Again, they are switching cars to electric power steering now. Can't check the fluid on electricity, so
Nope. So it's just got a little dipstick there that you check, just
Right.
like with oil and transmission.
it's just twist on, twist off, pull it out, and it's the same thing. It'll have a hot and a cold, and it'll have fill levels. This one actually says add down here, and hot, and then full cold.
The mark on the top of that's like a steering wheel.
Yes.
Power
right there.
steering, right?
Right there's your little steering wheel and fluid. That's the symbol for fluid. So, along with that, you'll also want to check your coolant. Now, this is typically in the reservoir somewhere. There's not a dipstick. So all you gotta do is find your reservoir. It'll have some sort of tank, or this one says Dex Cool. That's actually the type of coolant it uses. And you will see here, it says cold fill. As long as you're at the cold fill, you're good. Those won't have a hot fill because as the radiator gets warm, the fluid's going to expand and it's going to come out into the overflow tank, which is what this is called. I will tell you, for adding coolant, most part stores will have I believe it's like a Prestone. It's a yellow coolant and it's good for all makes and models. You don't want to mix some of these. I don't know if it's still, but back in the day, if you mixed Dex Cool with a regular coolant, it would actually gel up and it could plug a lot of passages and stuff in the motor.
We don't want that.
No, you don't want that. And that's pretty much all your fluids.
Awesome.
Believe it or not, there is not turn signal fluid.
There is not
There
blinker
is
fluid.
not
No.
headlight fluid. None of those. If anybody sends you to the parts store to check one of those, don't do it because they're trying to get you.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We just do it for fun, dirty ENT. We do it for fun, bad boy. Nelly, Diddy, Murphy, Lee. This is history, baby. We do it for fun. Stack them. Come on now, and the band play it on. Barracuda.